All right, so earlier this week, the committee dropped their final rankings for the playoff bracket, and it's kind of to me, it's kind of as to. I mean, I understand why they dropped it early, but like I said, Army just won their championship game, right? And then of course they got the end of the season game against Navy, but with Arizona State winning, and Army was ranked like 24th, and Arizona State was 15ish. I understand why they put the rankings the way they did, or just went ahead and went into the playoffs. But let's talk about the playoffs more specifically. Let's talk about, did the right teams get in? And I'm not going to talk about the matchups that are going to be played. I'm just going to talk about the teams that are in and seeing, do they deserve to be in, which most of them really do. So first off, let's start with number one, Oregon. Oregon looked good against Penn State. They came out, four out of their first five drives were touchdowns. At one point they were up 28-10. Now they could have closed it off better. I think they only won by like 8 or 9 points. Um, so I don't know if Penn State really started to step up or if Oregon really became complacent, and was like, we got this in the bag and whatnot. But all season, Oregon has looked great. They came into the Big Ten from the Pac 12. They beat the top three teams in the Big Ten in Michigan. They went to Ann Arbor, beat Michigan. Ohio State came to them. They beat Ohio State. And they made it to the championship undefeated, uh, for the regular season and for the conference. And they beat Penn State. So they honestly do deserve to be number one. Number two, Georgia, an 11-2 team. Do they deserve to be in? Yes, they really do deserve to be in. I mean, their losses, um, eh, that Alabama game, I really felt like if they would have played that second half, but all game, then they definitely would have been straight. And then that game against Ole Miss kind of, is like, I don't think they were mentally in that game, but they beat Texas, who's been ranked number one and number two. I think I think they were ranked number two in the SEC championship game. Um, and Georgia has flat out shown that they can beat Texas, and Texas can't mess with Georgia. So honestly, I think they do belong in the number two slot. Number three, by the way, so the top five teams are all bowl or conference winners. They just take the highest rank of the uh bowl winners, the championship teams, and they ranked them in that order. So Boise State, who is ranked, I believe, eighth in the actual rankings, that's why they're higher than Clemson. Um, and that's why Arizona State is also higher than Clemson. Boise State looks good. Their only loss is against Oregon when they played them in week two. Um, Other than that, I mean, the conference is weak, so it's really hard to speak on. But they look good. You can't deny it. They basically undefeated besides Oregon, which was a close game, by the way. It came down to, I think, a field goal or something like that. Arizona State looked very, very good in the Big 12 matchup. This was a team that was expected to finish last in the Big 12. They were predicted to finish last. And the team that they played was predicted to finish like 6 or something. And they both made it. But Arizona State, had a point to prove. They wanted to show that they could really ball out against anybody, and honestly, they did. And uh, I think they very well deserve to be in the playoffs. I don't see any other team or championship winning team that really deserve to be in like SBC or any other Clemson, of course, been the most dominant powerhouse, most consistent team out of all the conference teams in the ACC. They just been wreaking havoc. I mean, you have Florida State win the conference last year with Jordan Travis, the whole 13-0 thing, and then yada yada yada. And then you had another team win the conference a few years ago that wasn't Clemson. But other than that, it's just basically been Clemson winning everything. With the whole Trevor Lawrence running thing, Deshaun Watson running things, the whole battles with Bama and whatnot, and battle with Georgia. Clemson, they deserve to be there. Obviously, I mean they're the highest rated championship team left. So now we get to the part where it really matters. The teams where we're seeing if they really, really matter. Actually, correction. I just noticed Clemson is a bowl winner. Okay, so they allowed Clemson in, but didn't give them home field advantage. Hmm. Okay. SMU definitely deserves to be in there. Um, their losses are to Clemson, the ACC powerhouse, and against BYU, who was ranked sixth in the nation at the time. I think BYU was pretty good. They're still ranked in the top 25. This is a team that came from the Atlantic Conference, won the Atlantic Conference last year. People really didn't think much of this team, didn't really think that they would be able to compete. And they come over and they go undefeated in the ACC in the conference until the conference championship game. So with Jennings at quarterback, I believe this team has a shot, to compete. But I don't know. That Penn State team is a different demon, man. Where are we going? 10. Indiana. Only losses to number 8, Ohio State. They look good most of the season. I think them and Army was the only teams at one point to not ever trail in a game. Now, obviously, they both ended up losing, and obviously, they both ended up trailing at some point in the games after that. Um, honestly, we got some people on that team from my area on that team, so I'm kind of rooting for them, but you know who I'm going with. And Rourke is a good quarterback. It's gonna be a lot for this team to compete. They're first off, I think I saw that they have a 0-12 or 22 something, like they never beat Notre Dame. So this is going to be a good game. Uh, I feel like Indiana can compete, but for a team that hasn't made the Big Ten championship in years and hasn't been in the BC not BCS but how New Year's Six bowls, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them, and especially with them being in South Bend, and at Notre Dame at night, it's going to be real crazy. All right, number 9, Tennessee. Pretty good team. They have a loss to Georgia. I forgot who their other losses to, but I think this team is going to be a problem for definitely for Ohio State. And if they beat Ohio State, they might be able to make a run. This team can make a run, but I mean, with that D line, the D line is crazy. The offense has weapons. They got the quarterback. They got a top 5 running back in the nation. Like this team is loaded to win and can do it. It's all about the mental aspect. And honestly, I think they're going to make a run now, or I at least think they're going to get out the first round for sure, for sure. Ohio State coming off a loss to Michigan, their arch rivals, a team that, like I said before, was missing the best corner in the nation and a top 5 corner in the nation. They had multiple quarterbacks all season, so it was no telling who was going to be the quarterback, but they ended up going with Warren. And to lose to your arch rivals when you were expected to win by 20 is nuts. But they have the freshman of the year in Jeremiah Smith. They got the quarterback, they got the running backs, they got the defense. It's all. I'm pretty sure they're going to look to beat Tennessee, obviously, just so they can get that rematch against Oregon and prove that loss was a fluke. And I think they'll, like I said, I'm not going to get into the matchups. I'm just saying, hey, Tennessee, better watch out. Number 7, Notre Dame. Only loss of the season is NIU. Now, people were complaining about should they be in there. I don't know, because they did lose to NIU, but who you gonna replace them with? Like they won most of their game or the rest of their games. No, they don't have a conference game because they're independent, but they were winning. They were winning. I mean, you can't put an 11-2 Texas team in, and well, you can because they lost to Georgia. Their only losses is to Georgia. So, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. If any team should not be in here, it's them. But who you gonna replace them with? And number 16, Penn State. Definitely should be in here. The only losses is to Ohio State and Oregon. This team is loaded with talent all across the board, and they got the best, my eyes, the best defensive end in the nation. And he's let's say edge rusher. Good. Abdul Carter gives me fits in CFB 25, but the boy can play. Plain and simple, he can play. A lot of teams can't compete with this guy because if you watch the game against Oregon, he was flying around. He looked like Micah Parsons, to be honest. And finally, Texas. This Texas team, like I said, their only 2 losses are to Georgia. They beaten everybody. They had a close game with Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, was pulling off upsets and stuff like that, trying to prove that they are a team that, teams should be afraid of. Teams trying to prove to teams like, hey, we're here to compete. We can compete with the big teams. And y'all, this is just, prepare y'all for what's coming next season. And I think next season they might make a good run. But anyways, they dominate Texas, dominated Texas A&M. They dominated most of the teams that they played against. They dominated Michigan. Not saying much because at that time Michigan didn't even know who their quarterback is. I think in that game they ran with 2 quarterbacks, Orgy and Warren. But if any team, I think this team will definitely make the semifinals. Them and Georgia are projected to have the highest odds of winning the championship at I think it was like 360 or something like that. And what's crazy is Oregon did not have a higher projection. I think they were mid tier, like 4 or something, or like 5 or 6 or something. Because I think it was Texas, then Georgia, and then Ohio State, and then I forgot the other team, Clemson, and then Oregon. And it was like, whoa, that's crazy. But anyways, Texas will definitely make a run. But next video we're gonna be talking about the Heisman race with Genty and Hunter, and then after that we'll get into the discussion of the games, the playoff games, and then we'll go from there. A lot of bowl games coming up. I hope y'all enjoy it. I'm gonna try to watch all of them. And then I'll try to do like a weekly, weekly talk about the games and stuff until the big games start coming on. So until then, hit the like, follow, subscribe. All the links are in the description, and I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out.